Jesse, are you ready for rapid fire?
I am. I didn't think we'd go an hour talking about these draft evaluations, but here we are. Let's wrap this thing up nice.
Yes. There are a lot of people who are really digging in deep on the whole, Sam Hartman's going to get drafted. There's a lot of love. There's more love for Sam Hartman, I think, than what I was expecting out of this whole deal. All right, so Notre Dame linebacker coach Max Bullough shared some thoughts this week on one Jaylen Sneed.
Jaylen Sneed has gone from when we ended whole practice to now, has made the biggest jump maybe of anybody in terms of being locked in terms of playing with football, in football position, starting it in a stance, moving with purpose, all those little things that Jaylen knows. If I can do those things, the sky's the limit. If I can focus in on the details and do the little things, I can make the plays. And that's something I'm really proud of him for. He's done it on first, second down. He's done it on third down. We're still working, but he is someone that has flipped the switch and understands what's at stake here.
When did you really kind of see that, switch starting to flip?
As soon as we start spring ball.
Really?
Yes. And I think the competition in the room plays a factor in that, obviously. When we got guys in there that want to play football and are very capable.
So are you willing to bank on a breakout season for Jaylen Sneed after hearing that?
I am willing to break or to bank on a breakout season for Jaylen Sneed. And I liked what Max Bullough said there. He basically said there's a lot of young talent in the room, and I think Jaylen Sneed is actually starting to feel the pressure, right? Like, it's no longer an excuse you're a young guy, or if these younger guys are catching on faster than you, then what's happening, right? Because that's been Jaylen Sneed's biggest kryptonite. Is he just can't consistently X's and O's know what he's doing out there. And that's a huge liability. And so when you have younger guys coming in who are learning on the fly, getting a ton of playing time, I think that naturally pushes someone like Jaylen Sneed to be better. And to be quite honest with you, this is what the defense needs. They need Jaylen Sneed to be, a legit threat at the outside linebacker position. So after hearing him talk about Jaylen Sneed, it actually really, really made me happy and got me excited because I want to see Jaylen Sneed out there and playing at a high level.
Well, and to hear him talk about that, the switch being flipped for him and the fact that it was right at the start of spring, he could already see it. I think that that's important as well. And I don't think he'd, just be out there bouncing platitudes around, feel like he absolutely means what he was saying. And what's crazy, and I was just I just wrote something about Jaylen Sneed today that'll be coming up on our site here in the near future, but Jack Kaiser is obviously the most experienced current Notre Dame linebacker because he's a sixth-year guy. Jaylen Sneed, who has played all of 18 games in his career, is the second most experienced Notre Dame linebacker behind Jack Kaiser. And I think we're going to see a lot of him. I think he's going to be a Swiss Army knife type guy. When you hear all those different things that he was talking about, they're going to find the right situation that they can use Jaylen Sneed in. And like they've talked about him, at that rover position as a guy who can potentially even stay out there on the field in those third down situations and not have to come off the field, for an extra defensive back and that kind of stuff because of his pass coverage skills. They think that it's gotten that much better, and that hasn't always been the case for Jaylen Sneed. So pretty excited hearing that, and really, excited about seeing this scrimmage on Saturday and then the blue gold game next week as well to kind of see what some of that looks like from Jaylen Sneed. My expectation levels have gone up. So just as of right now, hearing Max Bullough talk about it, I'm with you. I'm banking on a breakout as well from Sneed this season. They need it because of where they are with that linebacker group. Michael, Ian Book and Sam Hartman are apples to oranges. Like, Ian Book getting drafted where he drafted has no bearing on where Sam Hartman gets drafted. It's two different drafts. Teams have different needs, 3-4 years later. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do. Like, 6 years of experience doesn't mean anything. He played in a slow mesh system for 5 of those years. That's why he came to Notre Dame this year. And whether he gets drafted or not is completely irrelevant. The only thing he's going to be in somebody's training camp in August, whether he gets drafted or not. And it's a matter of whether or not he proves that he can stick around, which I think he will because of all the stuff that we talked about with the intangibles. Personal issues have nothing to do with what I think about Sam Hartman. I think Sam Hartman, is like Sam Hartman's the kind of guy that you'd want to have just from a personality standpoint, from a brain standpoint, from all those different things. But he's not going to be an NFL starting quarterback. I'll tell you that. His hope and his goal is to be a career NFL backup. That has my personal issues have nothing to do with that. I don't understand why this has become such a hot button issue with Sam Hartman and where he is or isn't going to get drafted.
Yeah, and I liked what you just previously said before this. Him being undrafted is the better route because him and his agent can really find a better fit for him. Like a situation where okay, we really like the way that Sam's skills translate into this offense because this offense is not tailored for someone like Sam Hartman, but it's best compatible for what kind of skills that he has.
Yes. All right, so I'm going to play two different cuts from Irish offensive coordinator Mike Denbrock. In the first one, he talks about evaluating the team to identify the best personnel to go on the field. In the second one, he's asked specifically more about Jeremiah Love. So here's the first one.
I think we're in the middle of that, right? So we're halfway through spring, and the evaluation is of everybody on the offensive roster and who presents themselves in a way that we know we can rely on to make consistent plays. And maybe that's Jeremiah Love being more versatile in his role. Maybe that's 2 tight ends. Maybe that's 4 wide receivers. Whoever emerges and proves that they can consistently play winning football for us and be as dynamic as we need, especially the guys on the perimeter to be, we've got to utilize those guys in any way we possibly can. And if that means manipulating personnel groups or, what that looks like, we're kind of in the process of trying to determine that right now.
Okay, so there's the first one from Denbrock talking about identifying the personnel. And I felt like this kind of goes with it a little bit. Here he is talking about Jeremiah Love and that, adding receiver to his duties this year.
I think we're trying to evaluate, is there something where we can play some 2-back stuff and use him out of the backfield a little bit more as a threat, right? He needs to touch the ball, right? And we've got some really good backs, right? Beyond him, he's really good, and we got some guys who are really good beyond him. So it's again, in an effort to get your best 11 guys on the field and give yourself the best opportunity to play against the really good teams as good as you possibly can. You got to have your best players out there. So the more he learns and the more versatile he can become, the more we can use him in different spots. So that's the goal.
So again, there's Mike Denbrock, and I felt like those two things kind of went together. Listening to those two, Jesse, it means blank for what we're going to see from this offense this season.
It means more explosion is what we're going to see out of the offense this season. Mike Denbrock doesn't care about, I need to have, this guy needs to be on the field or this guy needs to be on the field. Denbrock is looking at, okay, who are my playmakers? How can I get them on the field, or get them the most amount of touches as possible? And I loved what he said about the 2-back stuff, because that's exactly what I started to go into. You could start Love in 2-back. You can motion him out of the backfield. You can line up as a wide receiver. The more that these guys can do, it's the more versatile the offense is going to be, the more unpredictable the offense is going to be, and the more explosive the offense is going to be. So when you hear stuff like this, it's just really reassuring, because Notre Dame is not jamming an offense onto its players. It's allowing its players to dictate more of how
what the offense is going to be
run, and just seeing, okay, this is what my guys are good at. How can I get the ball to them more? And I think that's going to be super refreshing for this offense this season, because it's going to lead to more big plays. It's going to lead to more guys in space, and so on and so on.
And I think especially in college, you don't see that. It's like, college coach, this is my system, and this is how you're going to fit into this system. But it's like when you hear him, like Riley Leonard the other day, when we were talking to him, when he was talking about the offense, he mentioned 10 personnel, like how the 10 personnel here with Mike Denbrock is similar to what they had at Duke. How many times have we seen 10 personnel over the last 14 years?
Not a lot.
At Notre Dame. No, because it was Brian Kelly's offense. I don't remember him going much 10 personnel. And then that offense stuck with Tommy Rees, and you still saw, a great deal of that with Jared Parker last year because he was still using so much of the Tommy Rees, Brian Kelly stuff. Craig says, don't put a square peg in a round hole. Exactly. And I just think there are just so many possibilities, I think, that are going to come of this. And with the kind of skill position talent that they've got and a couple of athletes, like whether it's Jeremiah Love or Jadarian Price in that backfield and just all these different guys, I think that it's very enticing. And I think we're going to see an offense that looks completely different than what we have become accustomed to seeing here at Notre Dame over the last several years.
Long story short, we're going to see an offense that is catching up with the times in terms of college football, I think.
Yeah.
And I think Chief Brody and I are on the same page. We took some naps after work, and we're both just a little bit of slap happy right now.
Don't put a square hole in a round peg.
Ever since he's got on here, he's just been bing, 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 bing. That's how I feel. I took that nap, and I'm ready to go, baby.
I know. Get the playmakers on the field. Good point.
Doesn't this make you so sad about Chris Tyree last season, though? Because, imagine Chris Tyree in a Denbrock offense.
If you would have had this kind of philosophy last year. Oh, man. Mike, over under 60 total catches for the running backs combined. I think it'll be over that. Don't you?
So quick math would say 12, 24, 36, 48, 5 catches a game out of your running backs. I'm going to take the under.
You're going to go under?
So
let's see.
I don't count Jeremiah Love lining up in the slot and catching a pass as a running back.
Well, he's still a running back, though. He's still a running back.
Yeah, but in that play, he's a wide receiver. That's why he's been practicing at wide receiver.
But you're going to count him as a running back, though. So I think that'll count. Estime had 17 last year. Payne had 9. There's 26. Price had 5. There's 31. Ford had 4. There's 35. So 35 last year without any real attempt to get the ball to the running backs.
I think 50. I think 50 is a more reasonable number.
I'm going to go over.
Okay.
I'm going to go over. Because Jeremiah Love potentially is going to get a big part of that, and you're still going to have to count him as a running back because he's also probably going to.
So you're going to go what he's listed by on the depth chart. What? Well, look, even though he's being used as a wide receiver in the play,
he's going to have at least 50 carries, if not 60 carries, as well. So you've got to count him as a running back still if he's carrying the ball that many times. I mean, that's his position group. He's that's where he is.
We'll agree to disagree.
Is Deebo Samuel a running back? No, he's a wide receiver, but he still carries the ball, right?
Yeah, but I feel like carries for a wide receiver are way easier to define than catches for a running back lining up as a wide receiver.
Interesting hill to die on. Craig is with me, by the way. All right, Notre Dame men's basketball player Markus Burton made an announcement on Instagram today. They all make the announcements on Instagram now. Nobody does Twitter in terms of these athletes. But so here's what the freshman point guard posted. Quote, over the past few weeks, I've looked for ways to better my game for my sophomore season. And now this next sentence, he highlighted in gold. So it was sort of like emphasized. While maintaining my eligibility at Notre Dame, I will enter my name into the NBA draft. The valuable feedback I will receive from this experience will pay dividends on and off the court, end quote. So he entered his name for the for the NBA draft. But do you think, after hearing specifically what he said, do you think Burton will be back at Notre Dame next year?
I do think Burton will be back at Notre Dame this next season. I don't think he's going to get a good NBA evaluation. I don't think he's going to put his name in the transfer portal. I think he's going to come back and have a really good second sophomore season at Notre Dame and he's going to go on to get drafted after that. I think he needs one more season. Put it like this. I thought Blake Wesley was better suited for the NBA, and I thought he should have stayed an extra season, right? And so I get it because you want that feedback, but at the same time, I just feel like you're jumping the gun a little bit. Just be patient, trust the process, trust Coach Shrewsbury, get another year of really solid development, and then put your name in the NBA hat. I just think it's a little bit too premature. But I'm not really overall concerned because I think he's going to be playing again at Notre Dame next season.
I do too. And if, again, reading what he said there, it feels like he wants this evaluation so that he can come back and work on very specific things over the next year or so, get that feedback so he can work on those things and put himself in a position to be drafted a year from now. Because it just like where he is right now, he'd be a G League guy.
Yeah.
Right. Like best case scenario, he's drafted in the second round. He had a really nice, like he's undersized to begin with, 5'11". He did some really good things, obviously being the ACC Rookie of the Year and all that kind of stuff. But it just feels like he's mostly in this for the feedback so he can develop his game for a year from now and then look at
I thought, yeah, it was great. He was ACC Player of the Year. But if you remove if you remove Blake Wesley from that team, they would have very similar results to what this Notre Dame team did this season. You know what I mean? I feel like if Markus Burton was that good, I don't think that Notre Dame should have been not as bad as they were because we knew what was going to happen. New head coach, lost a lot of roster turnover. But, if you were that impactful.
If he was NBA ready, then they should have been even better than what
they would have been an NIT team at the very least. You know what I mean? But I think Mike brings up a good point here that it is in terms of talent, this is one of the weaker NBA drafts in a while. So it makes sense. Like I see it at that level. And I think Craig also brings up a good point too. Like he would make more money in NIL than he would as a G leaguer. So like, I don't understand that as well either. Like you're taking a pay cut to go sit in the G League when you could develop another year, make more money, and potentially be, a first or second round pick and make much more money.
I agree. Much better off. And I think that he will. I think he'll be back at Notre Dame next year. I think he'll pull his name back out after he goes through the evaluation process. Fill in the blank. Notre Dame women's basketball forward Nat Marshall entering the transfer portal means blank for Niele Ivey and the Irish.
Nat Marshall entering the transfer portal this week means that Notre Dame is going to have to go to work in the transfer portal led by Niele Ivey. Because you're going to have to tell me the official number. How many scholarship players are they down to?
One. We're thinking exactly alike. That's all it means to me is she's going to have to go to the portal. But
like it just means more work in the portal.
That's exactly it. Okay, so they've got Hannah Hidalgo, Olivia Miles, Sonia Citron, Emma Risch, Cass Prosper. That's, 5 definite returns. Maddie Westbeld expected back. That's 6. Kate Koval, the incoming post-player freshman, makes 7. And so, like Kylie Watson will be back. Her status is a little bit more uncertain because of the injury, but like they started this season with 10 players, 10 available players, not including Olivia Miles, obviously, because she was not available. So like, I expect they're going to go out and get another shooter kind of along the lines of Anna DeWolf.
You're going to get a forward.
Right. So you have another, and then you're going to go out and get at least another post player, if not 2. And, and so that's like, I would expect them to go out and bring 3 players in the portal.
Well, and I think
shooting guard and a couple forwards for some depth there.
I was going to say I don't know if it would be a true center. I think you would definitely get one true center. I think you get like a stretch 5 combo 4, just someone who's big, a big forward, big body. That's really, all I'm looking for out of that portal. So yeah, I like what you said. You get another shooter, you get 2 more big bodies. One's definitely a center, and one's again probably more like an athletic forward that you'd see.
Chief Brody says it means panic mode, and it is for some people. And I don't know if Chief Brody is actually panicking or if he's just, doing his pot stirring like he's usually doing over there.
He's laying in bed just firing off the comments.
Yeah, I mean, like some people are panicking, but like you've got the number one rated post player in the country coming in next year. So if you're Nat Marshall and you've already got your Notre Dame degree and you've already been, a bench player for your whole career, do you want to stick around? And then if Kylie Watson does come back next year, do you want to stick around and be the number 3 post at Notre Dame behind that? Because that's what you're going to be. She's already made good NIL money here, so she's got a chance to go on and get more playing time someplace else by going someplace else. Yeah, and Michael Johnson says she's got 2 degrees. I mean, she's a very smart young woman, So Mike Huff says, why only 1 recruit for Ivy? I mean, they have been very selective with their recruiting. They're not just padding they're not just taking and reaching on players. They're being very selective with how highly rated those players are. I mean, I think like Emma Risch has probably been the lowest rated of the players, over like since Niele Ivey has come in, or at least over the last 3 years, but she's still like a top 20. She was like right around that number 20, 25 range, something like that, so they're being very selective, and they're also at the same time going out and being selective and strategically using the transfer portal, because you look at like last year, they brought in Watson and Lauren Ebo last year. They brought in Anna DeWolf this year. They brought in Dara Mabry before that. So they're sticking to their guns. They're not reaching on the high school players that they're getting. They're going after very highly rated and highly regarded players who that they've been able to develop the relationships with, specifically Niele Ivey, and they've done well with the transfer portal.
Well, also the way you have to look at it is you got 3 stud guards. And they're all young. Why stockpile guards when you're set for the next 3 to 4 years? I think she's strategically recruiting the positions that she needs, and then getting, more mature, solidified players in the portal to kind of combine with some of her younger players. I really like the formula, if we're being honest, kind of plugging in, portal players, like, again, to add experience and really complement some of these young athletics, really, really uber talented guards that they have.
Yeah, exactly. And, so Mike says, where was it? She wants a portal program. Every program is a portal program now. Again, she's augmenting the roster with transfer portal players. That look at the majority of the roster: Hidalgo, Miles, Citron, Risch, Prosper, Westbeld, Koval. That's 7 right there who they recruited out of high school. And there have been, others as well. That's 7 core. The majority of your roster is still McDonald's All-American types who have, been recruited by this staff. So it's not like they're overly reliant on the transfer portal. They've augmented it when they've needed to with the transfer portal. Matt Lee had this question in earlier. I don't know if Matt's still hanging around or not, but he says there have been rumors about AZ Fudd leaving UConn in the transfer portal. People think the Irish have a shot. If so, do we want her with all of her injuries? I mean, I think you would take a shot on a player like that with the talent that she's got. I don't know if that's like if she's actually hit the portal yet or not, but why not? Like, how big a deterrent would her injury history be to you, Jess? Like, would you want to take a chance on it, especially like considering maybe, like the unfortunate run of injuries Notre Dame has already had the last couple of years? I'm
good on it. I think Niele Ivey's got her plan. If she so happens to be at Notre Dame, sure. But I think Niele Ivey has had, like, people have like their 10-year plan in life and stuff like that. I think Niele Ivey has really, she's got it. And when I was listening to you guys on the Lucky Lefty podcast the other day, I thought the comparison to Hurley that those guys, Sean Crawford and Malik brought up of, get us now, right? Because I feel like Notre Dame is continuously reloading, right? Like, they've got their guards. okay, we had some injuries and we know we didn't have the size that we needed, but get us now, because once we get these post players, we combine it with our guards, we combine it with the experience out of the portal, a lethal 3-point shooter. Like, get your shots in now, because Notre Dame women's basketball is coming. So I don't think they need all that. I think Niele knows what she needs. I think she's had it. She's got her visions locked in, and she's going to execute. So I don't see the need for any UConn player. Leave UConn players out of here.
Oh, so you're saying leave her? Don't go get it.
They don't need it.
Okay.
Don't need it. Niele doesn't need it.
The player that I find the most intriguing this offseason is Leah King from Pittsburgh. She is in the transfer portal right now, and she's a very athletic post player, averaged a double-double this season. And as of yet, I haven't seen her land any place. That would be interesting to have a one-year player like Leah King, who averaged a double-double in the ACC, paired up with, a young, very talented Kate Koval, so you wouldn't have to rely solely on her. I think that would be very interesting if Notre Dame could find a way to make that happen. That would perk the old ears up, I think. Mike says, what about the Louisville LSU girl?
No.
She would not fit the culture here.
She's burned the bridge. Niele's seen her
Yes.
at Louisville. There's no way.
Yes. I agree with what Michael's saying. Ivy has to be selective. Notre Dame is not for everyone. DK's waking up from his hockey coma, apparently, right now. So, Jess, OJ Simpson died today. His playing career ended, of course, well before you were born. And the chase that took place when he was accused of killing Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman in 1994, also took place before you were born. So I'm curious, when you hear the name OJ Simpson, what do you think of?
Yeah, unfortunately, when I hear OJ Simpson, the football career is on the back burner. I know he was a good running back, but all I think about is the Bronco chase scene, and he's flying down the freeway and he's got 8 police officers behind him. And it's really sad because OJ Simpson was a tremendous football player. He would go down as a top 10 running back of all time. But yeah, I think of the white Bronco and him literally fleeing, from 8 police officers. That's what comes to mind. And like you said, I wasn't fortunate enough to see the football stuff. Now all I see are the documentaries and, the Netflix specials and the FX specials about OJ
Did you see
Simpson.
the OJ Made in America? Did you watch that?
I did.
Yeah, it was really good. 30 for 30 that they did. Yeah, I mean, I'm old enough to remember, sort of the tail end of his playing career. Not a lot because he played in Buffalo and the Bills were horrible in the 70s. But obviously, he was one of the best running backs in the NFL at that point, and at that point was the only back to ever run for over 2,000 yards in a season. And then it segued into the Hertz commercials, running through the airport and all that kind of stuff, go Juice go. And, and then the movie career. But, really all I think of now when I hear the name OJ Simpson first, like some people were saying, one is the white Bronco. And I was actually, and we were talking yesterday about how I'm not the biggest NBA fan now, but I was at a sports bar, and I think most people probably remember where they were when that happened. I was in a sports bar in Kansas City with some friends, and the Knicks Rockets NBA Finals game was on. And then all of a sudden we're sitting there and this split screen comes up and there's this white Bronco and you see this chase going on. And, because it's a sports bar, there's no sound up. So it's like, what is going on? And, you find out what's going on. Or, I remember going home and it's still on TV and all that kind of stuff. And, the glove and the whole thing. And that's unfortunately, I think what, OJ to me is remembered for and should be remembered for, whether you believe that he should have gotten off or not, but he is gone now. A lot of people think, though, that
I didn't even know he
Go
had
ahead.
cancer.
I didn't either.
Like, I didn't even know like this was a possibility. You know what I mean? Like when I saw that today, I was like, wow. Like I had no clue that he was sick, that this like him potentially dying was even something that was on the table. You know what I mean?
Right. Fill in the blank. Apple TV continues to stream Major League Baseball games. They've got a new feature, though, this season. And I've been meaning to talk about this and finally was able to bring it up today. Viewers now on these games have the option, using their remote control, to listen to their home team's radio broadcasts instead of the network TV announcers with just the click of a button. This makes you say blank.
This makes me say that Apple TV shouldn't broadcast baseball. What's the point of broadcasting baseball on your own network if you're just going to click over and listen to Boog Sciambi on the Marquee Network while the Cubs are playing? It's just dumb. I just think it's really dumb that Apple TV is offering this service, because even if you're the one streaming the game, you're still listening to the other broadcasters. So just don't, like go unless you have every single game on Apple TV. You know what I mean? Like it's because all Apple TV does is has the free game of the day, right? But if you're not a fan of that team or a baseball nerd like me, then who really cares, right? And so it's like, just go back to allowing the teams to be streamed not on Apple and where they're originally from. So I don't know.
So you're complaining about it. Okay, so this, like Jason says he would love it for Notre Dame games. And I've been saying all along, with it, like where we are from a technology standpoint, this should be an option for any sports broadcast on TV, whether it's Apple or your network TV or wherever. They should be able to offer this option to anyone. And, like the downside would be, okay, well, you can't see like the TV commercials. Like during the commercial breaks, like the regular stuff could still pop up. I think that this would be awesome. Like the whole turn the sound down, you listen to your home team's radio broadcast and all that kind of stuff. Not everybody wants to hear the network TV announcers, and most people obviously complain about the network TV announcers. So I think this is an awesome innovation, and I think that it should be offered for everybody, like on every broadcast, like home team radio broadcasts. Chief wants to see me call Notre Dame football games on YouTube. Okay, well, I'll do that.
You'll dial that up.
Right. So I think it's great. I love it. If you could buy stock in any athlete for the next 10 years, who would it be?
Oh, since I'm a nerd, I'll give you two. I'll give you one for football and one for baseball.
Okay.
Jackson Holiday and baseball.
Where are you going with baseball? That's right.
Caleb Williams in football.
Interesting. I think, like the stock on both of those guys is already pretty high right now. Like,
yeah, I think it's going to get even higher.
Okay. So are
you looking for someone that's like a penny stock right now that's going to blow up?
It doesn't have to be. I mean, it's your answer. So like that's your answer. Caleb Williams is going to be the number 1 overall draft pick. So you're pretty confident in Caleb Williams. You don't think that he's going to be?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of hype now and a lot of stock, but I mean, how many first round quarterbacks have we seen be busts? Like there's more busts at the quarterback position in the first round, the number 1 overall pick, than there is success. And I think Caleb Williams is he's getting a lot of backlash, and I wouldn't say hate, but maybe questioning his skills. I think he's going to go on and be he's going to be a top 5 quarterback, like he's going to be okay. He's not going to be top. Well, how do I put this? He's not going to be Patrick Mahomes, but he's going to be. I think he's going to be right behind Patrick Mahomes. I think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league for a long time.
Wow. Okay. A lot of people thought that with Justin Fields. Michael says Arch Manning. Got some Hannahs, Juju's, Jeremiah Love. Those are good. You listened to me on the Lucky Lefty podcast the other day. I'm going with CJ Carr. That's who I'd buy.
Okay.
Like, I think he's a penny stock right now. He's
okay.
He's 4th on the depth chart for Notre Dame, but I think we're going to see monumental things out of him within the next few years, and that will springboard him to his NFL career. So CJ Carr is my stock for the next 10 years. That's where I'm going.
Nice.
Okay, so Brian Curtis, who hosts a podcast for The Ringer, had this question this week. He asked the guy who was on with him, if you could go back in a time machine to the 80s and ask Spike Lee and Jim Nance, which of them would be more surprised that they're doing commercials with each other today? Who do you think would be more surprised if you went back and asked Spike Lee and Jim Nance?
I think Spike Lee would be more surprised. Yeah. I don't know how, like, what solid argument I can stand on with this, but if I'm picking between the two, I feel like Spike Lee would never feel like he would find his way, entangled with Jim Nance.
Right. Like Spike would think that he had lost like all street cred, I think, at that point.
You're
like,
right. I think that was the best. That's a good way to put what I was trying to maybe get to.
Right. Exactly.
And I think Jim would be like, whoa, I get to do this with Spike Lee. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like, like Jim Nance finagled his way into doing the starting lineups for the national championship games for forever while he was on TV. And then he stepped aside and they actually let the guy who was the actual PA announcer do it, which, it's like, oh, you're the PA announcer for the national championship game, but nobody gets to like Nance, I think from like an ego standpoint, he sort of plays that, oh, I don't have an ego, but he's got an ego kind of thing. So I think that he would be right in there. I don't think Spike Lee would have ever believed it. Chief Brody wants to know if we think the Notre Dame men will make the tournament next year. I don't, but I think they'll be at least a lot closer to getting there than what they were this year. I think that they'll at least be in the NIT next year. What do you think?
I think they'll be right on the brink of the tournament, but I think they'll
be
bubble team. Yep.
Okay. We're along the same lines. Thanks for the super chat, ND Milton fan. He says, what favors do we need to call in to get an interview with Harry Heestand? Are you all worried about Texas A&M opener next year? I'll be more worried about Texas A&M in the opener if a guy with one career start has to make the start over the guy with more experience who they brought in this year. But I mean, it's a tough. I'm more concerned about the environment, I think, than I am the actual team that they will be playing. I'm not saying it's going to be a pushover game. I think the environment is the biggest thing. But all we heard about when Notre Dame went to Virginia Tech a few years back was Enter Sandman and all that crap, and that turned out to be nothing. Once you get a lead, I think all that environment stuff goes out the window.
I'm more worried about environment and Texas A&M being jazzed up with a new coach in its opening game. You tend to forget about all the past struggles in the very first game of the season. It's a clean slate. You're at home. It's a great environment. You have a great new head coach. And so there's nothing to lose when you play in game one like that. That's what I'm more nervous about. Texas A&M has the athletes. It has the studs. But I don't think they'll be there year one, but they'll think they're going to be there year one. They're going to have the mentality that they can go out and beat anyone. So that's what I'm most worried about.
Yeah. And this will be the thing, Chief, worried about the away form last year. Marcus Freeman has done a good job of correcting whatever the issue has been, like from one year to the next. That'll be the big thing that they've got to get cleaned up next year, and they'll find out right away when they go to A&M. But that will be, that's the issue right now, right? All right. Well, we went for a while tonight, Jess.
Yes, we went longest show of the week.
Now, there's a rumor Vince could be back tomorrow. He's got, of course, more duties, and he's working on trying to figure out logistically if he's going to be able to do it. Jesse cannot because he has other things going on. So if there's no show tomorrow, you blame Vince. It's as simple as that.
I like that.
That's what it comes down to. That's right. All right. Thanks for being here. As always, maybe we talk to you tomorrow. Maybe we talk to you next Monday after we get to see a Notre Dame scrimmage on Saturday. And I'm sure Brian is going to be doing a Saturday show after the scrimmage as well. So either way, we will talk to you later. Thanks again. Hit the like button before you leave. We'll talk to you on IB Nation Sports Talk.